Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? In today's video, we are going to be talking about history in the making, and it's called the Sovereign Wealth Fund. First, I'm going to tell you what's on the White House website about the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my own opinion about the Sovereign Wealth Fund. On the website, on the White House website, it says this: the creation of a sovereign wealth fund for the United States will help maximize the stewardship of our national wealth. Sovereign wealth funds exist around the world as mechanisms to amplify the financial return to a nation's assets and leverage those returns for strategic benefits and goals. The United States can leverage such returns to promote fiscal sustainability, lessen the burden of taxes on American families and small businesses, establish long-term economic security, and promote U.S. economic and strategic leadership internationally. The United States already holds a vast sum of highly valued assets that can be invested through a sovereign wealth fund for greater long-term wealth generation. And the federal government directly holds $5.7 trillion in assets, indirectly, including through natural resources reserves. The federal government holds a far large sum of asset value.
Next, this is an executive order. This charges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. This is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work, and I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices that's done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together, I think we'll create, Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds, and you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of the, like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund, and these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic.
Now, what do I think? Well, a sovereign wealth fund is going to be a game changer. Okay? But only if it is structured to benefit the American citizens and not the bureaucrats, which I'm sure with 47 it will be to benefit us, the people. Instead of endless taxation and deficit spending, imagine a fund where natural resources, tariffs, and strategic investments generate wealth. And then that wealth is distributed to the citizens in the form of dividends not wasted on government bloat. So how will this work? Well, you'll have revenues from oil, gas, minerals, tariffs that flow into the fund. Okay. Then there is strategic investments on infrastructure, AI, energy independence, grow national wealth. Instead of hiking our taxes, there's going to profits are returned to Americans as a national dividend, like Alaska's oil fund, but on a national scale. Okay. Now, why is this better than taxes? Well, it reduces dependence on income tax and inflationary money printing. It gives every American a direct financial stake in the country's resources. It creates a self-sustaining economic engine instead of government spending black hole. So, who are the ones that do not want this? You have your lobbyists, you have your global elites who only want America's wealth siphoned offshore. Okay? Then you have your big government that strive on taxation instead of wealth creation. And then you have your foreign powers that only benefit from U.S. capital outflow. A sovereign wealth fund should belong to we the people, not the politicians. Okay? Now, it's time to flip the script, y'all. Okay, it's time to flip the script. No more we pay, they spend. Right on? We own this shares net. We own the wealth. We reap the rewards. Okay? Point blank, period. Okay? We've been paying into this for how freaking long? Okay? Okay? So, now I'm going to tell you about Norway's sovereign wealth fund. Norway's southern, yeah, I live in the South, sovereign wealth fund, officially the government pension fund global, is the largest in the world. It manages about $1.5 trillion in assets. But how, you're probably asking, does this very small Nordic nation build such immense wealth? And what do the citizens actually receive from it? Well, let's take a look, okay? The origins and history behind it. In 1969, Norway discovers massive oil reserves in the North Sea. And then in the 70s and 80s, the government nationalizes oil production through Statoil. And that's Statoil. And then in 1990, to prevent economic overheating and protect future generations, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund is established. So then we get to 1996, and the first deposit is made into the fund. So how does it operate in Norway? Well, the fund is owned by the Norwegian government, but it is managed by Norges, and that's Norges Bank Investment Management. The investments span stocks 70%, bonds 25%, and real estate and infrastructure 5% across 70 plus countries. Now there's ethical investments. No funds in tobacco or weapons or companies that violate human rights. Okay. So do Norwegians get direct payouts? Well, unlike Alaska's permanent fund, Norway does not provide direct cash payments to citizens. Instead, up to 3% of the fund's values can be used annually to support the national budget, funding social services like free healthcare, education, and pensions. So, why is this so unique? Well, there's no direct spending of government projects. It prevents corruption. It is designed to last beyond oil depletion. Yeah. And it has made every Norwegian effectively a millionaire, but in public wealth, not in personal cash. Yeah. So, are there going to be challenges in the future? Well, there's challenges with everything if you really want to think about it. The oil dependence is declining, transitioning towards renewables and tech investments, managing volatility in global markets and inflation. So now let's move away from Norway and let's talk about Saudi Arabia, okay, and their sovereign wealth fund. Now, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund is one of the world's most aggressive and ambitious sovereign wealth funds, and it aims to reshape the kingdom's economy that goes beyond oil. With $925 billion in assets, and that was just in 2024. It's a financial powerhouse, if you will, that it's driving what is called Vision 2030. Okay, but how does this all work, and do the Saudis receive direct benefits? Well, let's start with the history first and the evolution of this. In 1971, Saudi Arabia established the Public Investment Fund, or their sovereign wealth fund. And they started it to invest in key domestic industries. In 2015, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman restructures this PIF, let's just call it that, by transforming it from passive investor to a global strategic fund. In 2016, the PIF becomes central to Vision 2030, aiming to reduce oil dependence and build a diversified economy. Now, in 2019, the PIF, which is backed by Saudi Aramco IPO, which raises $29.4 billion, partially funding the sovereign wealth fund's expansion. So how does it operate? Well, unlike Norway, their sovereign wealth fund in Norway, funding is not solely from oil revenues, but also from the Aramco profits and IPO proceeds, government transfers and state assets privatizations, returns from global investments. So now let's talk about the investments that focus on strategic sectors and what they include. You have technology, which major stakes in Lucid Motors, Magic Leap, and SoftBank's Vision Fund. Then you have tourism and entertainment, which is the development of the NEOM, which is NEOM, Red Sea Project, and Gidea, which is QIDDIA. And then you have sports, heavy investments in Newcastle United, LIV Golf, and global sports expansion. And then you have your infrastructure and your finance, which is projects like Radia Air, Saudi National Bank, and energy transition. So do the Saudis get direct payments? Well, unlike Norway, Saudis do not receive direct UBI style payouts. Instead, the PIF reinvests the profits into mega projects and economic diversification, job creation and infrastructure, social programs and housing initiatives, global power and risks. Let's talk about that. The aggressive expansion, like from Tesla to gaming. Saudi Arabia is shaping global industries, the political leverage. The PIF is a geopolitical tool securing influence in Western markets and also in Asia. Now, this is a high risk strategy for Saudi Arabia because betting on big futuristic projects like the NEOM, but will it deliver long-term returns? That's the question. But the biggest question, will the PIFs force Saudi Arabia and their aggressive spending turn Saudi Arabia into an economic superpower, or is it a high-stakes gamble on the future? But these are 3 different countries that we're talking about, with different leaders, different visions, different infrastructures, different financial goals, different everything. So you really can't compare the 3 at all. Will the Americans want a cash payout every single month or every single year? Probably. But that's not up to us, the American people. I think that we would rather not have to pay taxes. Heck, I don't want to pay property taxes anymore. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to, have taxes taken out of my husband's paycheck. I mean, that type of thing. I don't want to have to pay taxes on my Google paycheck anymore, but it is what it is, y'all, But let's see where this heads and let's see what happens. But I think that this is history in the making for America. I really do. All right, I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, you stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Ciao.